Ladies and gentlemen, we all reach a point in life where we look around and realize we've collected more than just things. We've gathered memories, moments, milestones, and yes, even a bit of clutter along the way. And while those items may sit quietly on shelves or in drawers, they often carry loud stories in our hearts. Today, I want to talk about something that many avoid, yet everyone eventually faces. The challenge of letting go, not just of stuff, of guilt, of expectations, of the silent weight we've carried for years. This isn't just about organizing your home, it's about freeing your spirit. So whether you're here looking for motivation, clarity, or maybe just a little hope, I want to share 5 harsh truths about decluttering for seniors that no one talks about, but you need to know, not to discourage you, but to empower you. Because what's on the other side of letting go is something beautiful. Let's begin. Decluttering is one of those things that sounds simple on the surface. You look at the piles, the drawers, the shelves filled with things, and you think, I just need to get rid of some of this. But the moment you sit down and actually start, something unexpected happens. Maybe they remind you of the days your children were still little, running around the house, their laughter echoing through every room. That chipped mug from the corner shelf might have been your morning companion for decades. These things hold weight, not because they're valuable, but because they've been with you through hard seasons and joyful ones, through moves, through changes, through grief, through growth. They become markers of who you were, who you are. And so when someone says, just get rid of it, they don't understand what they're really asking. Sometimes the objects feel like the last connection to someone who can't be reached anymore. The last touch of their voice, their presence, their love. And how do you let go of something like that? Decluttering then becomes a deeply emotional process. It's not about tidying, it's about grieving, about processing, about honoring your life and the seasons you've walked through. And that's what makes it so exhausting, even paralyzing, because each decision, keep or toss, feels like a little goodbye. And when you stack those decisions one after another, it can feel like too much to bear in a single afternoon. They're not just asking you to toss out clutter. They're asking you to say goodbye to a memory, a season, a person you once were. And that's not something you can do lightly, not when every object has a story, not when every item feels like a thread in the fabric of your life. There's also the fear, unspoken but real, that if you let go of the item, you'll lose the memory too. That maybe the stories will start to fade, that without the physical reminder, the moments themselves will vanish. This is especially true for those living alone or for those whose loved ones have passed. You pick up an old letter, a faded photograph, a cracked figurine, and suddenly you're not just holding an object, you're holding a moment from your life, a piece of your past. And in that moment it hits you, this isn't just about organizing your home. This is about facing the years you've lived, the people you've loved, the memories you've made, and in some cases, the things you've lost. For many seniors, decluttering isn't about junk. It's about letting go of parts of their identity. They have worn a sweater in the back of the closet. Maybe it was your husband's favorite. The old school books. There's also another layer, a silent question many seniors ask themselves while going through their belongings. What will be left of me when I'm gone? It's a quiet thought, but it lingers. It's not about vanity. It's about legacy. About wanting the life you lived to mean something. About wanting the people you love to understand who you were, what you valued, how deeply you cared. And often those things are wrapped up in the objects we keep, the handwritten notes, the recipes, the decorations we chose, the books we read, the crafts we made. They're traces of a life fully lived, and deciding what to do with them is not easy. It's okay to feel all of this. It's okay to pause, to cry, to sit with the memories before making any decision. Because decluttering isn't a mechanical task, it's emotional labor. And for those who live full, rich, beautiful lives, it's not just about clearing space. It's about honoring everything that space once held. Sometimes when people come to help you declutter, whether it's family, friends, or even professionals, they come with good intentions. They want to be useful. They want to speed up the process, help you make decisions, maybe even free you from what they see as unnecessary burden. But very often, they don't understand what they're walking into. They see items, you see memories. They see clutter, you see moments that shaped you. This difference in perception can feel like a gap no words can fully bridge. To them, it's just paper or plastic or an outdated item taking up space. But to you, it's part of your story. There's a certain kind of ache that happens when someone handles your belongings like they're disposable. They're not trying to hurt you, they just don't see what you see. And that hurts in a different way. Because it can feel like your life, your experiences, your memories are invisible to others. As if the meaning behind what you've held dear for so long is being dismissed or overlooked. And that feeling of being misunderstood can be more painful than the act of letting go itself. This is why decluttering, especially in later years, can sometimes feel lonely, even in a room full of people, because no matter how much help you have, there's a level of emotional depth that often goes unspoken and unseen. People can help move boxes, but they can't always grasp what those boxes mean. They don't understand why you pause before letting something go, or why tears form in your eyes when they hold up a random object and say, "Do you really need this?" What they don't know is that this might be the last thing your spouse gave you before they passed. Or maybe this is something you saved up for, sacrificed for, and we're proud to finally own. It's not their fault, really. Most of the time, they haven't lived your life. They didn't grow up in the same era, hold the same values, or witness the same moments you did. They don't know what it's like to have raised a family in a different world, to have held on to things during hard times because letting go wasn't always an option. They don't see the weight behind a wedding album from decades ago, or the birthday card that came from a friend who's long since passed, or the old Christmas ornament your child made in second grade with glitter and glue still stuck to the edges. Even the smallest, most ordinary items can carry deep emotional weight. A sewing kit that once fixed clothes for the whole family. A record player that filled your home with music when the days felt heavy. A piece of jewelry you wore to every family gathering. To someone else, it's a thing. To you, it's a thread tied to love, to laughter, to seasons of life you'll never live again, but still carry in your heart every day. The pain doesn't just come from losing the item. It also comes from feeling like no one truly sees what that item represents. You're not just afraid of parting with something. It rarely comes. Life doesn't pause and line itself up neatly so we can begin hard things with clarity and ease. More often, it keeps moving while we keep postponing. And what starts as a small delay becomes a quiet pattern. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and before long, the thought of starting becomes heavier than the clutter itself. You're afraid that the story connected to it will disappear too. And when others don't ask, don't listen, or don't understand, it can feel like you're the only one left remembering what once was. Sometimes people want to help you move on or make space without realizing that they're asking you to do something deeply personal and emotional. They want to do the right thing, but the truth is, this isn't just a task. It's a hard journey, and that journey doesn't always look logical or efficient from the outside. That's okay. What matters is that you know what it means, that you remember why you kept it all this time, that your story is valid whether or not others fully understand it. One of the most common thoughts that comes up when thinking about decluttering is, "I'll start later." And at first it sounds harmless, reasonable even. Maybe you're waiting for more energy, for the right mood, for someone to help, for the weather to change, for the weekend, for when the time just feels right. But the truth is, that perfect time, there's a strange kind of pressure we sometimes put on ourselves to make a grand beginning, like everything needs to be sorted out in one day or else it's not worth trying at all. We tell ourselves we need a full plan, the right bins, the energy of our younger selves, and a full afternoon with no interruptions. But life rarely gives us that combination, and so we wait. And in that waiting, the stuff around us keeps building, not just physically, but emotionally. The more we put it off, the more overwhelming it feels to even think about starting. It becomes not just a room to clean, but a mountain in our minds. But the truth is, you don't need to climb the mountain all at once. You don't even need to reach the top today. All you need to do is take one step, one drawer, one shelf, one small box, even just 10 minutes of sorting. That's enough to shift something, not just in your home, but in your heart. Because progress isn't about speed, it's about movement. And every small action you take is a quiet declaration that says, I'm ready to create peace in this space. It's not about rushing or achieving. It's about honoring where you are and giving yourself permission to move forward. Not perfectly. You may not have the same strength or energy you once did. That's okay. Start with what you can do, not what you used to do. If that means just clearing a single corner or going through one photo album, that's meaningful. That matters. And as you take those small steps, something inside begins to shift. Confidence grows. Burdens start to lift. You begin to see that freedom doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing something. Sometimes fear disguises itself as planning. We tell ourselves we're preparing, but deep down we're avoiding. We're scared of what we'll feel when we open that box or look through that drawer. Scared of the memories, the decisions, the grief. That's why starting feels so heavy. But when you actually take that first step, you'll realize that the weight in your mind was far greater than the weight in your hands. And every small choice to begin helps replace fear with peace. There's something powerful in momentum, even if it's slow, like pushing a car from a standstill. Hard at first, but with each step, it becomes lighter, easier. And before you know it, you're moving forward, not because everything is perfect, but because you choose to begin anyway. Not the kind of guilt that shouts loudly, but the kind that whispers quietly as you hold something in your hands and ask yourself, what if I'm being ungrateful? Maybe it's a gift someone gave you years ago. Maybe it's a hand-me-down from a family member, or something made by a friend who's no longer here. And suddenly, it feels like getting rid of that item would be like turning your back on that person, or on the love and memory attached to them. The guilt can settle in so easily, making you feel like keeping the object is a way of keeping the relationship alive. No one else can tell you when the right time is. But deep down, you know when your soul is craving space. When your spirit is ready for a little more lightness, a little more room to breathe. Don't wait for everything to feel easy. That moment may never come. Start where you are, with what you have, as you are. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're just one choice away from making room for something new. One of the heaviest emotions that surfaces during the process of decluttering is guilt. But what we often forget in those moments is that the person who gave us that item likely didn't give it so we'd carry it forever out of obligation. Most gifts are given with the hope that they'll bring us joy, usefulness, comfort, not guilt. No one who truly loved you would want their gift to become a source of emotional weight. Their love wasn't meant to trap you. It was meant to bless you. And if the object no longer serves that purpose, it's okay to release it. You can let go of the item without letting go of the love behind it. There's something deeply personal about the items we've been given. Whether it was a birthday present or a family heirloom, these things often carry more than just emotional weight. They carry a sense of duty. We feel responsible for honoring the gesture, for showing appreciation even years later. And when it comes time to let that object go, we hesitate. We worry that doing so might be seen as selfish or disrespectful, as if the love we were shown would somehow disappear the moment the object died. Guilt also shows up in more subtle ways. Sometimes it's not even about other people. It's about the money we spent or the goals we never fulfilled. You look at something you bought and think, I shouldn't let this go. I spent good money on it. Or you keep supplies for a hobby you never got into and think, If I let this go, it means I failed. That kind of guilt ties your worth to what you own, what you've achieved, or what you meant to do. But your worth isn't found in any of those things. It's not measured by what's in your closet or on your shelf. It's measured in who you are and who you're becoming. And there are the things passed down through generations, things that once belonged to parents, grandparents, or other loved ones. These often come with stories, history, emotion, and yes, meaning. But not everything we inherit needs to be carried forward forever. Holding on to someone's belongings doesn't prove love. What proves love is how we live, how we remember, how we carry their spirit in our words, in our values, in our choices. You don't dishonor someone by choosing peace in your space. You don't disrespect them by saying this item no longer fits the season of life I'm in. Letting go is rarely easy. It asks something of you, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually, especially when it comes to things that have been with you for years, sometimes decades. But what often gets overlooked in the conversation about decluttering is not just what you're losing, but what you're gaining. Because every time you release something that no longer serves you, you're not just clearing space on a shelf, you're making room in your life. Room for clarity, room for peace, room for joy, room for what truly matters to you. Now, releasing items doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you've forgotten. It doesn't mean you're being ungrateful. It simply means you're being honest about what still serves your life and what doesn't. That's not disrespectful. It's wise, it's thoughtful, and it's brave, because it takes courage to look at something with meaning and say, I can let this go and still keep the memory, still keep the love, still keep the connection. You are not letting people down. When you choose peace over clutter, you are choosing to live lighter, freer, and more intentionally. Our homes are reflections of our inner worlds. When they're filled to the brim with things we don't use, don't need, or no longer connect with, it becomes harder to feel at ease. It's like our environment is holding on to the past so tightly that it leaves no room for the present. And the longer we live that way, the more it starts to feel normal, until we forget what it's like to walk into a room and feel lightness, breathing space. But when we begin to let go, even little by little, something begins to shift. There's more air, more stillness, a sense that maybe, just maybe, we don't need to carry it all anymore. The unfinished projects, the untouched books, the items saved just in case, they carry silent expectations, quiet guilt, invisible weight. And once they're gone, what's left is freedom. Not just physical space, but emotional space. Space to dream again. Space to rest. Space to create new memories instead of constantly holding on to the old. Letting go also helps you reconnect with what truly matters now. Not years ago, not in some imagined future, but today. Who are you becoming? What do you value now? What gives you energy? You have permission to create a space that serves you in this chapter of life, not the last one. You deserve that. You've earned that. And all it takes to begin is the willingness to open your hands, loosen your grip, and trust that what's waiting on the other side of letting go might be exactly what your heart's been needing all along. So if you've been standing at the edge of this journey, holding tightly to the past, wondering if now is the right time, this is your sign. Not because it's easy, but because your peace is worth it. Your joy is worth it. You are worth it. Peace doesn't come from perfection. It comes from simplicity, from looking around and seeing only what you love, what you use, and what lifts your spirit. There's something healing about that. It's like the noise begins to quiet. The pressure starts to lift. And instead of being surrounded by reminders of what was, you start to notice the beauty of what is. This moment, this season, this version of you. Joy finds more room to bloom in a space that isn't crowded. Sometimes the things that take up space in our homes also take up space in our hearts. It's about curating a life that reflects where your heart is today, not just where it's been. The beauty of letting go is that it doesn't erase the past. It honors it. You're not discarding your story. You're choosing which parts of it you want to carry forward. and which parts you're ready to lay down. Sometimes people think they're losing something when they declutter, but in truth, they're gaining space to breathe again, gaining clarity about what they love, gaining energy to do more of what makes them feel alive. There's no rule that says your home must stay frozen in time. These are the questions that start to rise to the surface once the clutter begins to fade. You realize that you don't need as much as you thought. That what really fills your life isn't the stuff, it's the people, the peace, the moments of laughter, the simple routines that bring comfort. You remember that a clear table can invite conversation, that an open space can welcome a grandchild to play, that fewer things can actually mean more life. This isn't about living with nothing, it's about living with what matters to you. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means making space for what matters now, for the laughter that's still ahead, for the quiet mornings, the deep breaths, the simple moments that bring you life. You're not walking away from your story. You're just choosing to carry it with less weight. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you'll walk into a room, look around, and feel something you haven't felt in years. Lightness, hope, freedom. You are not too old, and it's not too late. Start small, start real, but start. The life you still have to live deserves that space. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your courage. And thank you truly for still believing in the beauty of what's possible.